we're going to cover the common imbalance called a lateral pelvic tilt. So this is really common with right-handed people. Even if you don't have it like super noticeable, you probably have some of the tight muscles that go along with this. So typically, if you're right-handed, usually this right hip will be a little higher, and that's typically accompanied by a drop in the same side shoulder. So it'll be kind of like crooked in an attempt to not fall over. So you have a lot of asymmetric imbalances going on, and that's not good. The way you might notice this is if you're having trouble like loading your glute, it's probably your right glute. You feel like your adductors are taking over, like if you're doing lunges and you can't seem to really load that post chain. You might get pain in the QL, in the low back on the right side. That's probably how it would manifest. You might have trouble staying real neutral when you're hinging. So let's cover how to fix these and the tight muscles that are associated with it first. So the most common problem and the easiest fix first is probably look at your QL. Okay? So this muscle tends to get real tight in a lot of people. It's real problematic because we put ourselves in a lot of positions where we tend to shorten it when we sleep or when we're sitting in cars, so we tend to shorten it without realizing it. So that's one thing you gotta be aware of, is if you do loosen it up, don't put it in a spot where it's gonna get tight. So first thing we wanna do is always roll out the tight muscle, okay? So if we wanna loosen up the QL, a couple good ways to do it. You can just get an easy lacrosse ball or a foam roller, and you want to tack it to the part where it attaches around your ribs, probably first. And what I do is I kind of go hit some hip flexion, straight leg, while not allowing my trunk to flex. So I can go straight leg or bent knee. I do a little bit of both. All right, and then it's real simple, just kind of roll it out on it, making sure to kind of stay long as you can. You don't want to roll on it and be all shortened up. Try to straighten out the arm, straighten out the leg. All right, so after you've hammered it out, you want to stretch it. Classic stretch for your QL is probably the hooker stretch is one of the best. Just grab a hold of something, pop your hip to the side, just kind of lean over right there. This will also get some other muscles that are kind of tight as well, which we'll go over in a second, some of the trunk and obliques and stuff. Another quick modified version I like to do on this is using the TRX. I feel like I'm able to feel it better in that area. So I'll cross to the front, then open up, and then this allows you to kind of drag that hip out even a little further. Now, if I have somebody who has a really tight QL, one of my clients, I'll probably do a manual stretch on them. So I'll show you what you could do if you were training with somebody. You could do this, have them do this to you and help loosen you up. Or get on a bench or a table and just let your leg hang. And so you want to think about the stretching out. Just have them apply some pressure, pushing it down, stretching it out. So I'll come over and I'll just apply some pressure. I might have them kind of come up against me and then P and F stretch. And then I'll have them relax and usually lead down a little further after that. So a lot of times if you get that QL to loosen up, everything takes care of itself. Sometimes that's the main culprit. So one other thing I like to do to loosen that up is to fire up the antagonist muscle. So anytime you got something tight, you always want to fire up the antagonist so we can kind of loosen it up. So QL's antagonist is actually the other side. So think about it, if one side's shortened, the other side's kind of lengthened. So we want to shorten this side, and every time we actively contract it, we're actively lengthening the other side. So real easy move is just a standard hip raise. So if I'm trying to shorten my left side, see if you can come a little more. Maybe come to the back so you can see this shortening. I don't know if you'll be able to get back there. I'll come over here, be a little easier. So I'm going to start to sit down. You can add like a little ankle weight if you want, but you're just going for high reps with a slight pause. So don't think about like pulling the leg out. As you see in a second, your glute mid is going to be overactive on this side probably, so you might just go out. It's not an out, it's an up movement. An up and shorten, and when this is shortened, that side's lengthened. So I would do like a 1 second hold at the top. Go for about 20 of these. Okay. So if your QL is tight over here, that means your glute mid is going to be really underactive. All your butt's probably underactive on this side, but in particular, glute medialis. So if we want to fire that up, I'll show you a specific exercise I like for that. We have a video called, I think, Getting Your Butt to Do Its Job. All of those corrective movements are going to be good. I mean, you want to fire up all the glutes. We're going to isolate the glute mid because that's probably going to allow that hip to drop the most. Okay? So if I'm trying to isolate my glute mid, I'm probably going to try this. And if it's too tough, you can just do a standing version. It might be too tough to actually activate this if you're really tight or really weak. So we want to have our hips in full extension and then back a few inches from there. So we want to be in hip extension on this right side. From there, we want to come straight up, not rotating out, moving backward, moving forward. Just a straight up and down movement. Focusing on feeling that contraction right around here. That'll be your glute. If you're feeling external rotators, they're kind of taking over, trying to help. Sometimes you might feel the hip flex a little bit. Just stay back and straight up. So that's just a real controlled activation exercise. All right, so if we need to activate this side, then we need to loosen up the other side, right? So we have tight QL on the right side, really weak, loose glute mid. So it's going to be the opposite situation on the left. We're going to have that loose QL, which we strengthen by doing that hip raise, and we need to loosen up that left glute mid. Okay. So again, we come to our good old ball. And what I like to do when I'm trying to loosen this is kind of go to my side, go through some internal rotation, internal and external, but mostly I'm trying to gain a little bit more internal. Again, you're looking for sensitive spots. You might find a few, but really we're going to try to hone in that upper outer area that's going to compromise your glute mid. So your glute mid has a lot of functions. One of its main functions is abduction. So we're going through adduction. We're trying to go the opposite. Right, nice. So you would spend some time on that, loosen that up. So glute mid and the QL are probably the two biggest spots that you need to hit. We're going to go over the minor ones a little faster. So if we're in this position, you kind of think about some other things that are going on, just looking at the body. Your obliques and your internal and external obliques are going to be really tight on this right side. They're in a shortened position, so again, we want to roll and then stretch. So if I'm rolling, you can grab, again, lacrosse ball. I like the supernova, I don't have that on me. Any roller, and you're just trying to hit this area on your side. And kind of lengthen yourself as you do it. Always reach up, looking for painful spots. Going into some hip extension will probably help as well. All right, so you're just looking for real tender spots, and when you feel it, trying to stretch out that fascia, get it in there. All right. Now, again, if we got to loosen up one area, then we need to strengthen the other. As far as stretching goes, you can kind of hit, you'll hit that with that hooker stretch a lot in the one we did on the TRX. That'll both hit those, okay? So if I want to strengthen the other side, the easiest thing is just to do some side planks. And you'll notice real quick, if you have this imbalance, that one side is just way easier. So we'll want to come down on the left side, because again, if your QL and all these obliques are real tight, it's going to be real tough to prop up into a neutral position. It's going to want to stay flexed. So you can just hold it, we can do the raises, basically anything to strengthen these left side obliques. I'll show you my personal favorite, again, it's using the TRX. And this is just your standing hip drop. So I have a lot of clients just do this on one side only because, again, this is a very common imbalance, especially if you're right-handed. So on this one, we're going to lengthen that side. Contract right there. So this is a really good core exercise in general. You can always include it, but if you do have this imbalance, you maybe just do it on the one side or do a little bit more on one. So a couple other real minor areas that are probably affected by this. If you keep going downstream on the leg. Well, this one's not very minor actually. Your adductors are going to be real tight on your right side. Kind of goes with that weak glute mid. Your adductors are going to be real tight. I would say adductors and QL are going to be the two tightest muscles that you need to address on the right side. So if I'm trying to loosen up these adductors, I'm going to go to the barbell. These are really tough to hit deep, and you really need something pretty hard to get in there. It's gonna be tough to use a roller to get in on the attachments where you need to. So I'm tacking, taking it as high up on the hip as I can get. I'm gonna make it go through a little external rotation. Lengthen. I'll take it all the way to the knees. And so this should hurt. And you'll notice a huge difference. If you don't do this and you've never loosened up your adductors, and you loosen them up and you squat, you're gonna feel so different. All right. And then if we were to stretch them, if we're really just focusing on the one side and the other one is not an issue, you probably just want to do kind of like the one leg maneuver. I like to do the wall stretch for both sides. If you're looking for one, just prop it up. So probably, I would say you don't need to probably focus on strengthening the other side adductor a whole lot. If you just loosen up this one, you'll probably be covered. If you keep going downstream leg, your left peroneal is gonna be real tight. It's really easy to hit that. You just use, I like the peanut or Gemini, but you can use any kind of a roller or a ball. You're just going right on that outer part of that shin, think about. And if you can pull it and stretch it out as you're rolling it, it's always better to hit the fully lengthened position. And so it's gonna be the opposite on this side. Peroneal is gonna be tight over here. It's gonna be post-hip on the right side that's tight. So sometimes I just get a ball and I just roll it along there. Sometimes I just tack it with my hand. And then I'm pretty loose right now, but whenever I'm tight and I'm not loosened up, you'll hear all kinds of cracking when I tap that post-tit and go into dorsiflexion. So I like to use my hands, but you could use a roller on that as well. And real quick, let's look at the upper body stuff. So if we're in this crooked position, this shoulder is a little excessively depressed. This one's a little extra elevated. That means like our low traps are gonna be a little tight over here, and our scapula is not gonna really upwardly rotate very well, and it's gonna be the exact opposite on this side. So one thing that you wanna do is roll out the low traps, area right below, I can't touch it, the area right below your, the very bottom of your shoulder blade. So I'm gonna tack it right, kind of at the very bottom, and then I'm gonna reach up and kind of outward, trying to just move that scapula. Think about these low trap fibers just not wanting that scapula to come up, so I'm gonna try to loosen it a little bit. Now, once you get it loosened, then we want to actually activate the upper fibers a little bit. So we want, it's kind of weird because normally when you hit your traps, you're doing both of them together, but we have opposite things going on. So we have tight lower traps, tight upper traps. So if I want to activate the upper traps on just my right side, I'm going to do an overhead shrug because that's also going to upwardly rotate your scapula the most. So real simple, you just get a dumbbell overhead and you're just shrugging from there. When you shrug from down here, you go back to that deep depressed position that we're trying to avoid, right? So again, if you want to try to loosen that area up, you want that scapula to move, I like using a little banded stretch. And I'm just reaching across the body, pulling. Because your lats are going to be a little tight too, so this is going to get those lats as well. So you can even come straight across the body. I would have a little lower if I was doing that one, and just make sure you don't shrug up. Now, if I'm trying to loosen my tight traps on my left side, you got to come back to the barbell. That's most likely the most effective way. Add a little bit of weight, and then attack those traps. We have a video all about fixing tight upper traps because this is really common to have it on both sides. So check that out for a little bit more ways to loosen those up. There's also some more stretchy in your basic, trap stretches right there. And then you would just want to activate that low trap on that side. So you could just do a single arm trap raise. simple. Kind of just hang out. And you're just gonna come up and depress that scapula without raising high. We have a video called Exercises You Should Be Doing a little trap raise, so check that out for a little bit more in-depth specifics on that. So, yeah, high right hip, really common. Like I said, even if you don't have a lot of noticeable signals, if you're right-handed and you've never really addressed this issue or looked at it, go ahead and try to loosen up some of these areas because chances are they're a little tight. And when you loosen up, you're going to be a lot more balanced. You'll be able to recruit from both glutes evenly. And you're not going to be asymmetric. It's that asymmetric wear and tear that's really dangerous. So go ahead and try to fix yourself up.